Hey, what's up, guys? Sanjay Shenoy here from Team Pixel Track, and welcome to this brand new video in the Content Marketing Mastery course. So, in the previous video, we have covered basically what we'll be covering in this course, and this particular video marks the start of this course, so to speak. So, what are we going to learn about in this particular video? We are talking all about setting goals and objectives. It is very important that you know why you're doing whatever you're doing. This can be applied to everything across digital marketing, even perhaps on life too. But it's very important that you know why you're doing or why you're creating content in the first place. I'll give you a small anecdote of what happened in my career. And basically, I was called by this big real estate startup for an interview. It was more like a consulting interview. So they wanted me to consult on their content marketing efforts. And they were like, hey, take a look at our blog and let us know, like, what do you think of this particular blog and, like, what we can do, like, better. So I went ahead and took a look at that blog. And mind you, this was like a real estate company. You know, they were basically into the business of getting people houses for rent or sale or whatever it is. And these guys were writing content about food, about the nightlife in the city, about so many weird, random things that was happening in the current scenario. And I was like, why are you doing this? You know? And they were like, no, we are attracting traffic. It's creating this brand image out there and all of that, and which is why we are doing it. Well, which was true to a certain extent, but there is no alignment between the content and the business itself. And I'm guessing that the biggest problem that they had was the kind of traffic that they were attracting was completely useless because the kind of content they were creating was not in line with what the business was trying to do. So even the CEO of such a big startup didn't have an answer for why are you doing this. At least he didn't have a very valid, rational answer for that. So which is why we are going to set the why before we go ahead with this particular course. So this is very important, and this video is all about setting goals and objectives. Let's see what you're going to be learning by the end of this video. So in this video, we'll be talking about what kind of a content asset are you going to create. Now, the moment you say content marketing, the first thing that comes to your mind would be blogging or creating textual content. And I won't blame you because that's what it's been for the longest time. But that's not the only kind of content you can create. But I've said this before, I'll say this again. In this particular course, we'll be mostly talking about textual content, but you can use the same fundamentals that we'll be covering in this particular course. You can apply it to any kind of content and make it work for you. So before we proceed, you need to understand what kind of a content asset you're going to create. And like we spoke, the why behind your content asset. Why are you even investing so much energy, time, effort, and money, if necessary, to create this content? So it is very important for you to, like, understand this and stick to it for a very long period of time. And with objectives, you need to align it with goals. You need to set goals to yourself so that you know where you're going. But any kind of goal would not do. You need to set up very effective goals, and we'll be talking about what effective goals are and what are the traits of such effective goals. Also, creating effective goals for your content marketing strategy. I'll give you a few examples of the kind of effective goals that you can create for your own content marketing strategy. So, what kind of content assets should you create? Well, honestly speaking, it all boils down to the skill set that you have and also what are you more comfortable with. Now, some people are more comfortable writing, some people are more comfortable, say, designing, some people are more comfortable creating videos. Whatever your skill set might be, whatever you're most comfortable with, you should stick to that. Because when you stick to something that comes very naturally to you, it kind of shows in the kind of content that you create. So pick something that you are very comfortable with, that you have the skill set to create in the first place. So let's quickly find out what are the different types of content assets that you can create. So the obvious usual suspect of the lot are blogs. You can create blog content, you can create textual content around your personal brand, around your company's brand, or around your client's brand, whatever you're trying to do. So you can go ahead and create blogs, you can create blog posts around a particular niche, around a particular industry, around a particular topic. Uh, if you're more inclined to design, so you can go ahead and like create infographics also. So you need to understand that uh, different mediums have different way of dispersing information. Now, you can put all this information, whatever you're trying to convey through a blog, you can do the same thing in an infographic. You just have to design it in such a way that it communicates the thoughts and the message and the information that you have to communicate. It just has to have that much information, the right amount of information to convey your point across. So if you're more inclined towards designing it, if you enjoy it more, you can go ahead and do infographics. You can also do ebooks or probably books, regular books also. Ebooks are just much more easier to publish, and that is also one way of creating content. If you're a B2B company, if you're trying to get into the B2B space, white papers and case studies can be a good content asset for you to create. It basically, you are doing the hard work for the entire industry and telling people what are the trends, what they need to look out for, and what is happening in the industry in the whole. So if you create white papers, you create this sense of thought leadership among people. So if you're into a B2B industry, white papers and case study would be a good bet for you. You can also create videos, and videos are like a huge thing right now. And the fact that making videos has become so much more easier. You need not have to necessarily stand in front of the camera when I say videos to create these kind of video content. It can be anything. It can be a slideshow which has basically been converted into a video, a bunch of images made into a video. It can be a webinar, it can be a vlog, you can just go live also if you're comfortable doing that. So all of these things are basically videos, and the best part about videos is that consumption of information through a video is very easy. You break that barrier amongst people when you put it across in a video format. So if your audience is a huge section of, or rather, a huge section of your audience is someone who's not comfortable reading or writing, videos might be the best bet that you can go after. And if you're feeling lazy, if you're feeling creative, you can go with user-generated content also. I have done this in the past, so should you. User-generated content can be really, really nice, and it brings out the authenticity of your brand. It brings out that connection that you have with your audience and yourself. So you can do it in the form of AMAs, Q&As, contests, so many other ways. So user-generated content can be a big way of creating content assets. Also, you can create a bunch of emails. So a lot of people think email as a communication medium. Of course it is. So is everything else. But you can actually treat it like a content asset, especially if you're setting it up on automation or autoresponders. So this email that goes out to people can become a content asset. And you might have seen it with our own company. You might have seen it in Deepak's blog, that a lot of these emails, we treat them as assets. Once you've created them, the same thing keeps going out to people who get into the whole system. You can also do podcasts. You can do interview people. You can just talk over the microphone and tell your thoughts out. If you're uncomfortable being in front of the camera, you can also go ahead with podcasts. You can create tools which people really, really want. You can create templates, you can create checklists and all of these things. Tools can also be a part of your content strategy, because there are people out there who, in fact, I think Neil Patel is doing this very well. So he went ahead and bought Ubersuggest and just made it into his own tool, right? So that is a way of marketing himself and putting himself out there as a credible leader in the entire industry. Also, you can go offline with your content and conduct workshops and seminars and events and all of these things. So this is also a type of content. This is the type of content that people would love to consume too. So don't, when we say about content marketing, don't just confine yourself to blogs, don't confine yourself to textual content. These are the different types of content that you can actually create. These are the different types of content assets that you can create, which you can reuse over and over again to attract the right kind of audience into your funnel. That's how you need to treat these things. But we'll be mostly talking about blogs, and like I mentioned before, you can apply the same thing, the same concepts across all of these different types of content assets, and get the same kind of results, if not better. So these are the ones. So decide. Pause the video a little bit probably, and decide what are the kind of content assets that you would want to create. I would suggest that you pick just one type of a content asset, and then you can go ahead and repurpose the same kind of content across different types so that you know what exactly you're doing. So, what I've also gone ahead and done is made a very extensive list of different types of content assets that you can create and what are the different mediums that you can deploy it on. So you can find an Excel sheet just below this video which talks about the different types of content that you can create. So you can just use it as a reference point to come up with new ideas to create new types of content. So just keep it around. You never know when you'll find it useful. So next up is the big why behind your blog. So you need to, like I've told you before, it is super important that you know yourself that why you are going with this journey of creating so much content. So I'll give you a few examples of the different kinds of why you can have so that it kind of like gives you a clear idea, gets your gears moving. So let's see the different reasons why you should be creating content. A lot of people use content to create brand identity, brand awareness, and brand recall. So when you create content, it creates a sense of identity around your brand. It personifies your brand. That's what it does. What content does is it personifies your brand. So you can either use it for brand identity, you can use it to create brand awareness. When you're solving problems in your industry, people tend to associate with brands who are trying to solve their problems, and also brand recall. So whenever they're at a lower stage of the funnel and when they come across content that might be helping them make that purchase decision, you can use content to do all of these things. So if you want to, this is one of your goals or your objectives, rather, not goals, objectives. So what you should be doing is, my objective is to create brand identity. My objective is to create brand awareness. So understand this very clearly. You can also be using content to build credibility, to build trustworthiness and authenticity. Credibility comes in when credibility and trustworthiness comes in when you add so much value to people's lives without taking anything back in return. And content gives you this opportunity or ability to be transparent and authentic to your audience. That increases the trust a lot more. So trust is the lubricant that you need for people to get through the marketing funnel and become your customer. So you can use content to do all of this. It can be as simple as to build an email list. Now, you might have seen the big guys in the industry say that the money lies in the email list, and it is so true, right? So, and how do you create or build this email list? You need something to attract people with, right? So, you attract people with content, you give away something in value so that they give their email information and their other information. And if this is what you want to do using your content piece or your content asset, very well. Also, especially if you're in the B2B industry, positioning yourself as a thought leader, as the industry leader, it becomes super critical when you use content. It becomes so much more easier when you create content, because there, with content, you're demonstrating your skills, you're demonstrating your abilities. It's like a showcase of what you can do as a company, as a person, whatever it might be. In your industry, you want to demonstrate as much as possible that you are the best one out there, and content can help you convey this. Also, a great tool to connect with your audience, especially if you're creating user generated content. You never know what kind of information you can get back from your customers and make your product, your offering, your service a lot more better. And it's a beautiful way to connect with the audience. And we do this a lot. You can see a lot of times we conduct polls, we conduct surveys, we ask people what they want and everything. There's so much connection happening. And in fact, we take it a step higher, and we actually go out in the physical world and actually meet with these people. So it really helps you to connect with your audience also. And let's not deny the fact that for a lot of companies, for a lot of brands, for yourself might be, it might be, the objective might be to increase leads and sales, and it is completely okay. Now, as long as your content is completely aligned with whatever you're trying to sell, it is absolutely fine to keep this as an objective. It is a very good objective to have, in fact. So to increase leads and sales can be a very good objective. Or a lot of you might be falling under this category. It might be as simple as to monetize that content with ad networks like Google AdSense, or you can be an affiliate partner with someone, probably like Amazon, or there are multiple affiliate networks out there. We can just like sign up with them. So if your idea is to monetize the content, it is fine. So your objectives or the why behind your content creation could be any of this, could be all of this also, but it has to at least be one of these, or it can be something else also. But before you proceed with the course, before you proceed with this video, in fact, just pause the video for a while, just give it a very good thought, and just write down why you're creating this content. What is the objective that you're trying to meet with your content? And you have to be very clear. You need to understand why you're doing this, and then put it out there, and then we can proceed with the next steps in the process. So I hope you have clearly written down what your objective and why you're like creating the content asset that you're creating. So next on the menu, we have effective goals. You just can't have objectives. Now you need to set goals to achieve those objectives, right? So let's talk about goals. And if you might have noticed, I didn't just mention goals, I mentioned effective goals. Now, there is a clear difference between goals and effective goals. Let's try to find out what are the traits or what are the characteristics of effective goals. And you have to follow this when setting goals for yourself, because otherwise you might feel demotivated, you'll feel like overwhelmed, you might feel stressed out. So let's try to avoid all of that by setting out effective goals. So before setting out effective goals, let's try to understand what effective goals are. The number one trait of an effective goal is you need to be specific. You can't just put a vague goal out there, like, say, for example, I'm going to improve my blog. Now, it is a goal, definitely, but it's not specific. It's very vague. So you need to be extremely focused on how you're improving how you're going to improve your blog. So what are you going to do to improve your blog? So it might be like increase my traffic by 10% by the end of this quarter. That might be a lot more specific goal. So it has to be very specific. Don't make it too vague. The next trait is, obviously, it has to be measurable. Going with the same example, say, for example, if you say my goal is to become a better writer. Now, it's not a quantifiable goal. It's not a quantifiable task. Now, how do you measure that you'll become a better writer? So one way is to measure the quality of the writing that you're doing. And a very good way to understand that is the number of shares that you're getting. So you might want to put like a goal like, I'm going to get at least 10-20 shares for my pieces of content. So that makes it a lot more measurable and quantifiable. All your goals needs to be quantifiable and measurable. Of course, it goes without saying, it has to be achievable. Now, it's definitely optimistic. It's definitely nice to have a very big dream, a very big goal. Like, I want to get like 1 million sessions for my blog. But the way to get to that 1 million sessions can be really tough. It can't be achieved overnight. So you need to have a much more rational, much more logical and achievable goal. So your first task might be, or your first goal might be, get 1,000 visitors coming to your blog, on a consistent basis. So that might be a lot more achievable. So when you put this achievable goals, it motivates to like go out there and do it in a better, in a much faster, in a much more scalable manner. Also, it has to be relevant. It goes back to being specific. You can't be like, you can't be building an email list because everyone is doing it. It can't be like that. And your goal also cannot be like, I want to build an email list. But why are you buying an email list? Is it even going to be useful for you? If not, it's okay for you not to do that. It's okay for you not to do certain things if it is not relevant for your business or for your audience, more importantly. So make it relevant. And the last thing, it has to be time bound. It is way better to say that I am going to write 10 blog posts by the end of this month rather than saying I am going to write 10 blog posts. Right? So just think about it. Just let it play in your head and you will totally agree to whatever I'm saying. Make it time bound. Put a very hard limit in terms of time. That way, create a sense of a deadline for yourself. That way, it'll give you the accountability, the responsibility to create all of these things or do all of these things in a time bound manner. And these are the specifics of effective goals. This is how effective goals needs to be. It might feel like I'm going down to the basics because I am, and because it is so important. A lot of people get lost in the basics and the devil lies in the details, right? So I'm trying to like get all of these things perfect before we start off in our content marketing mastery journey. So make your goals specific, make your goals measurable, keep it achievable, keep it relevant, and make it time bound. So I'll give you a few examples of the kind of goals that you can make, especially if you're uh, starting off a new blog and deploying some kind of a content marketing strategy there. So one type of an effective goal can be creation goals. Like, for example, I'm going to write 2,500 words this week. This is a creation. It's all about creating content. And it can also be like, I'm going to create one new blog concept this month. It can be a completely different concept than what you've already tried, different type of content piece that you want to create. So it can be something like this for a month, or over a quarter, it can be like, I'm going to publish in a new medium like a video or a podcast, anything that might be this quarter. So as you can see, these are all creation goals, but they are very, very specific. They're measurable. It's very relevant, and most importantly, it's time bound. And frankly speaking, I have put extremely achievable goals here. You can tweak it according to what you feel is achievable and what you would be more comfortable with, but you get the point. So the next segregation that we can have is performance goals. You can talk more like, I'm going to publish one more blog this week than last week. You're talking about quantity. How are you performing when it comes to quantity? So you can self-evaluate yourself based on these things. So these are something that goals that talk about your performance. You can also say something like increase blog traffic by 10% in 1 month. This, you're talking about the quality. How are you going to increase the quality of your content that it'll in turn get you 10% more traffic in 1 month? Or it can be something like increase email sign up rate by 15% this quarter. So that's all about conversions. So these are performance goals. You can also talk about optimization goals. Like, you can put like a goal saying that I'm going to optimize one old blog this week for SEO or for this particular keyword. You can be as specific as you want. In fact, I would strongly recommend that you be as specific as possible with your goals. So also you can say something like, I'm going to increase time spent on my website by 10% this month. So what are the things that you need to do? So this is your goal. So this is not the things to do. This is the goal. Or say something like repurpose one blog into at least 3 formats this quarter. So you can do something like this. As you can see, these are just examples just to get the ball rolling for you. You can just sit back and think about the kind of objectives that you have and what are the goals that you would be having to write down to achieve those objectives. So I hope you have listed down all the goals that you want to create. It might be creation goals, it can be performance goals, it can be optimization goals, or it can be goals beyond this. So it can be anything. I hope go ahead and make a list of all of these goals. But everybody, almost everybody, gets to this point very successfully. It's not a big deal to list down all your goals and make a list of all of these things that you need to achieve. But how do you ensure that you actually achieve your goals? Because a lot of times procrastination hits you, some other kind of activities is happening in your life will come and like bother you. There are plenty of distractions around you, so anything might happen. But how do you ensure that you achieve your goals? So the number one thing is, for each goal you need to create a next action step. The goal is not what you have to do, it is where you have to be. You get what I say? It is not about what you have to do, it's about where you have to be. So to reach that one goal, what do you have to do? Say for example, if we go back to our creation, this thing. So I am going to create one more blog post this week. So what is it that I need for my one more blog post? I need a content idea. So what do I have to do to get my content idea? I need to go ahead and research a few topics, research competitors, research the entire industry, probably all of that, and make a list of all of these things. So what is the exact next step that you have to do? So probably in this case, it might be researching for new topics. So go out there and create action steps for each goal. So break it down into small pieces or small tasks so that you can go back and keep doing this. And you would not believe after a point of time that you will make so many of these small tasks. And once it starts combining together, it compounds and gives you a big, much bigger picture. So break it down into very small tasks and keep on ticking off each of these tasks. And before you know it, you would have created or you would have achieved your goal, for that matter. And very importantly, don't take on too many goals at once. Don't say that I want to do this, I want to do that. So focus is very important. Pick up one thing and just focus on that until you're done achieving that goal. So a very good tip is, don't try to achieve too many goals parallelly. Try to do it sequentially. So once you have achieved one goal, move on to the next one. Don't try to take too many things on your plate. Trust me, I've done that mistake. You'll end up all over the place. So I strongly suggest you don't do that. And you need to know how to prioritize your goals. You need to know how much effort each activity is going to take and how much result it is going to give you back. So keeping all of these things in mind, you need to prioritize your goals and pick things that gives you the maximum impact with the least amount of effort and time and energy that you need to invest. So prioritize accordingly and have triggers for your goals. So it can be like, every Monday I'm going to do this, every Tuesday I'm going to repurpose my blog, every Wednesday I'm going to do an outreach campaign. So have triggers for your goals, and it really helps because sometimes you completely forget what needs to be done and all of these things. So having triggers for your goal really helps. And write your goals down. The simple, humble piece of paper and pen would do. But if you fancy like a proper project management tool or something like that, you can go with something like a Trello, Basecamp, whatever it is. I personally use Trello, so you can also go ahead and use Trello, but write your goals down. It really helps. Very importantly, you need to review your goals. So you need to evaluate yourself. You need to understand how many of these goals are you achieving every week, every month, every quarter. So once you create this, you'll have a sense of responsibility, you'll have a sense of accountability, and more importantly, you'll know where you're going and how you're headed. And a lot of people try to, one more suggestion that I have is, do not try to control the output. The only thing you can control is your input. How much effort are you putting in? And your results are definitely in proportion with your effort. Your results are going to be in proportion with your effort. So the more effort you put, the better your results are going to be. So be accountable. You can also have accountability partners. You can ask your friend to keep an eye on what you're doing and how much you're doing, and review your goals once in a while. So these are some of the tips that I have to ensure that you achieve all your content marketing goals and objectives. So that's about it for this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it. I strongly suggest you take action. You sit down and list out why you want to create this content asset, and list out all the goals that you want to achieve. in order to accomplish all the objectives that you have in mind. So go ahead and do that. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of this course. I'll slightly change the format also. Let me know what you feel about this. If you have any kind of feedback, you can write me an email at sanjay@pixeltrack.in, or you can leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.